I think the one on the left was taken by a drone.
Today, I'm here to take a little closer look into the Mavic Air II's camera and how the new and bigger sensor compares to a full-frame DSLR, the Nikon D850. My name is Nicholas Johnson, and this is the Space Warehouse. Okay, so I'm not trying to compare these two devices just as like tools that you would use interchangeably in the same circumstance. I can't make my DSLR fly any more than I can attach a 70 to 200 millimeter lens to the front of this fella. And obviously the Nikon D850, a professional grade, full frame 45 megapixel DSLR with a wide swath of available lenses, is going to take an objectively better photograph, but maybe not by as much as you think. I found some old footage of my very first drone flight ever. I got it for Christmas from my mom. Hi, Mom. I'm gonna bet she bought it at like a mall kiosk or something, but it shoots unstabilized 480p. It's completely and totally worthless for video. I mean, like, you can only control the camera by turning the drone or angling the drone, but the intrigue of this thing, like what this was like, I don't know, 2014, like what was about to be possible was crazy. It blows my mind. With the 2020 update to the Mavic Air II, they've not only updated the resolution to 48 megapixels, but they've also updated their camera sensor to make it physically larger, calling it a half-inch sensor. Although, strangely, everywhere I look on the internet, I can show that the actual size is 6.4 by 4.8 millimeters. I don't actually know where the half-inch sensor quote comes from, because even if you take that measurement diagonally, it's only 0.3 inches. But whatever, either way, it's less than half the size of the DSLR one. I wanted to see just how much the difference in sensor size matters when these are both 40-something megapixel cameras. So I headed on over to UCF campus and then to the warehouse to find out. So the first comparison I set up was shot in daylight, with both the drone and the camera on a tripod right next to each other, so they're in the same position, and pretty far from their subject. So pretty much perfect conditions for the sensor size not to matter, since mainly what you get from a bigger sensor size is low light performance, less noise, and bokeh, but none of those things should apply here. But let's pop on into Lightroom, take a look. The first thing that stands out to me is the actual shape of the sensor. This is more of a, I guess the Mavic Air is shooting 8000 by 6000, where the Nikon is shooting 8200 by 5500. Not that big a deal. If you zoom in though, one thing I did notice, and I'm not sure if this comes through in a YouTube video, but even in super bright conditions, blue in the sky has quite a bit of noise, even in the daytime. They said this is a half-inch sensor. That shouldn't be that noisy. The Nikon on the right, the Mavic Air on the left. But then if we go to these trees, you gotta scrutinize it pretty carefully to see that it's sharper on the Nikon. As we get to the foreground, obviously stuff's gonna be out of focus on the Nikon. Yeah, so the Mavic Air II has a fixed focus lens. Like, the whole scene is in focus. It must start at a meter and just go to infinity, kind of like a GoPro. Lightroom at least thinks this is a 4.5 millimeter lens, 24 millimeter equivalent. I guess I was shooting at 28 millimeters on the Nikon. I cropped these to be the same size just to make the comparison a little easier. All the way zoomed out, and of course just on a laptop screen, I would guess you wouldn't be able to tell which one's which. The one really weird thing that came about in these tests is, look at the water. This turquoise color in the water just is absent in the DJI photo. And then I did notice this tree has some sort of like, I don't know, some sort of like blue rope on it, and that rope is almost gray on the DJI one. So like this certain color of turquoise doesn't get picked up with this sensor. It's pretty weird. Other than that though, these are basically the same resolution, but when you start to scrutinize, look at those bricks, look at the really defined bricks and these billboards or whatever you want to call them on top of the library, a bit sharper on the Nikon. Not a huge surprise, but still 48 megapixels is a lot of megapixels. That sensor is just so tiny. They're cramming 8,000 pixels across in 6 millimeters, 6.5 millimeters. And this is shot on a tripod, so this is not when the thing is hovering. It is sitting still with the timer so that I'm not touching it. It should be perfect conditions for the sharpest imaginable shot. So this is as sharp as this drone can get. But again, we're zooming so far in. Even like desktop background, it would still be tack sharp. Printed out like the size of a magazine, it would be tack sharp. It's only when you're really scrutinizing and getting into the 100% that you start to see that it's not in flawless perfect focus. Third and final example, not really different from the other two. I just wanted to get it in there because I spent so much time 10 years ago in the engineering building at UCF. And once you get all the way in, it's not just the sharpness. Like, the engineering sign is obviously a little bit sharper on the D850, but look at the sky, look at the noise. There's a bit of noise on the Mavic sensor, and this is middle of the day. This is 1/640th of a second, so it's just an ISO 100. That's the most important thing to point out. This is the noise you can expect when you really zoom in 100% on these pictures. These pictures are really big. So moving on to a kind of a dark alley that had a lot of contrast of brightness in the scene to test the HDR mode. So Mavic Air II, even in the 48 megapixel mode, where it does shut off all the tracking and everything, but it does let you do automatic exposure bracketing. So if you have a scene that has bright areas and dark areas, but you want them all to be pretty much exposed properly each, you normally can't do that with a camera, but there's a setting where you can have it do it for you. So basically you point it at something and it'll take 5 pictures at different exposures, and then you can take those into Lightroom. You go to photo merge, HDR. Lightroom will take the bright parts of the darker picture and the dark parts of the bright pictures to sort of just mash them all into one picture that honestly ends up looking a little bit fake, but this is kind of like a lot of times what you would see on like a magazine advertisement. If they needed this alley or whatever, this is how the picture would end up looking. So compared to the overexposed, that's where they took these bright areas for these plants, because if you expose for the sky, those plants pretty much disappear. You combine those together and you get bright and bright, or dark and dark, however you want to say it. HDR. Of course, the Nikon D850 does that same thing. There's an auto bracketing setting. You can set it to take as many pictures as you want and at different exposures, and here's the result of that one. It looks actually pretty similar. So here's the dark darks, here's the bright brights, they're all combined together. Let's compare that with the one that the Mavic Air took. But here's the same scene. You could easily edit these in Lightroom to look the same, but I'm sure we'll have the same issues where if we go to this blue sky. Oh, actually, interesting. So when you do an HDR photo, when you auto bracket in the Mavic, it does get rid of pretty much all the noise, actually. So these pictures, other than a little bit of bokeh in the foreground, these pictures are much more similar. Yeah, but there's very little noise in the sky in the HDR pictures for the Mavic Air II, so take that for what it's worth. Portraits. So the Mavic Air II is not meant for close-ups. You're not going to be taking any portraits with this camera. It has a fixed focal distance starting at 1 meter away, and even at that spot, the background is actually in better focus than my subject was. To be fair though, that's a limitation of the lens, not of the camera system as a whole. They didn't build in autofocus. So it's kind of like a GoPro where it's just set focus from 1 meter to infinity, and that's what you get. So, I mean, for the ways you normally use a drone, you're not ever going to be, or you shouldn't really ever be, closer than 1 meter from your subject. There really is no method to get background separation on this drone. Focal point is set to infinity. Looking over at the Nikon D850, well, this was literally one of the things this sort of camera is specifically designed to do, so that's close-ups, no surprise there. So for low light tests, I stuck with perfect conditions. The drone was on a tripod. I just wanted to give it perfect conditions just to compare the sensor. Again, I wasn't comparing these two things as a camera, because you wouldn't use this inside a warehouse at head height, especially not if you had one of these to go with. So, or for taking stills at least. This picture was taken with the Nikon. This picture was taken with the DJI. Zoomed out like this, they look pretty similar. Once you start to scrutinize, you'll see that this fan is out of focus because of bokeh, and in the DJI one, everything's going to be in focus, or as good a focus as it can get. So one of the main things I noticed when I'm just scrutinizing around in this picture, and even in light colors, which is what's different, I guess, the blacks don't really have any noise, which is cool. But like on Joe's face, or up on the wall here, like even a white wall has just a ton of noise, like a kind of a crazy amount of noise for having a half-second shutter at ISO 100. And then we move over to the DSLR, and there'll be a little bit of noise because it was pretty dark in there, but generally it's a pretty sharp, pretty nice picture. And I missed focus. Looks like I focused on the car behind Joe instead of on Joe's face. Nevertheless, but I'm pretty impressed. This was a pretty dark area. There was a work light and then some lights on the ceiling, but otherwise generally a dark room, and these look pretty similar. They look pretty good. Again, not a portrait camera, but maybe surprising for low light. However, half-second shutter, so you're probably not going to get this when you're flying. The other comparison I did was a really dark area out the front door of the warehouse where it's just pitch black, but then I exposed for the brightest part of the scene, so I was exposing for the inside of this trailer. The Nikon has more sharpness. You expect, I guess, more sharpness by the end of this thing. A little bit mushy, but we're zoomed in really, really far. Like, this is the whole picture. Again, a little bit of noise on the white. Black surprisingly doesn't have a lot of noise. It's kind of interesting how different the colors end up when you like really crank the darkness. This has like a very purpley hue. This has a very greeny hue. I can't tell you what it really looked like because it was pitch black. I'm surprised either of these cameras picked up all that information. So as a part of testing out my daytime shots, and this is something everyone should pretty much do once in a while anyway with your own photography, is you print it out. I decided to print out a couple of the photographs that I made at UCF really big. So I made these 2 foot by 3 foot prints, and then I hung them on the wall at the Space Warehouse Gallery and invited some friends over to take a look at them. I tried to make it clear to my friends that this was not a contest between them, but I wanted to have each of them with their own very different perspectives look at these pictures and just see if it was obvious which shot was a drone shot and which shot came out of the DSLR. I have an art fair producer, I have a race car mechanic and driver, and I have the vice president of the Orlando Curling Club. Ooh. We'll start with Billy. Which of these 2 pictures was taken by a drone and which was taken by a professional DSLR camera?
Ooh. See what we're doing. It looks like the one on the left is a better picture.
The one on the left is a better picture, okay? Billy, which camera do you think took which picture on that wall?
I think the drone took the one on the left.
I agree.
That's the drone picture.
Everybody thinks the drone took the picture on the left. Let's turn our attention to these 2 pictures.
Okay.
So which picture, in your opinion, was taken by the drone and which picture was taken by a DSLR camera?
I think the one on the left was taken by a drone. There's so much more light being picked up.
So this is a little unfair because you got people that know cameras. So
Maybe we're wrong.
No,
we could be wrong.
I can 100% tell that there's compression on the one on the left in the grass. Like it looks blurry.
Look at the grass.
Yeah.
Look at it.
Yeah.
And listen to how high pitched her voice is.
We had 3 out of 3 correct on this set here, and we only had 1 out of 3 correct on this one. So yeah, that's not bad. Like out of 2 pictures, one of them, all 3 of them guessed right. But on the second photograph that they looked at, printed out 3 feet wide, 2 out of the 3 of them got it wrong. Which one was the $6,000 combination DSLR and lens, or the $750 drone? I will say that once you start printing out pictures taken from both of these cameras, all the noise that was immediately obvious in the drone, even on daytime shots, even in the blue sky, is way less obvious on paper when you print it out. Well, that's it. That's my comparison between the Mavic Air II's camera sensor when compared to the Nikon D850, which is still my main shooter in a 2021 when mirrorless camera systems are mounting an increasingly convincing takeover. Thanks for watching. By all means, please leave any questions or corrections down in the comments. I do love answering questions and coming up with things to do and say based on the things that you guys say down in the comments. Subscribe to the channel to watch what comes of that. I'm gonna start thinking about where to get Joey to come with me to go for lunch.